evaluation and also application. However, because our evaluation is so heavily weighted on the B questions, it's very important that candidates make judgments and justify these judgments. So we'll now have a look at how these are applied to paper 2. These are key messages from paper 2. Across the 3 variants, the most common mistake made was by not referring to the case study and just answering questions in a generic form. In parts A and B of questions, the answers need to be in the context of the case study. It is a case study paper, and therefore this is what is expected from candidates. They should be able to apply all of their answers. For example, paper 21 was in the context of a business making camping equipment. And so all answers should have been in the context of a business making equipment such as cookers, chairs, camping lights. Paper 22 was in the context of a business selling new and used motorbikes as well as repairing them. And paper 23 was in the context of a business making a new design of tent. These need to be taken into account and then used as part of the answers to the questions. Detailed explanations should be developed rather than points simply listed, especially in answer to A questions. For example, paper 22, question 1A, RRM is a small business. Identify and explain 2 reasons why RRM might remain small. If the reasons are just listed, it's the owner's preference, for example, or there is a lack of capital, then only 1 mark for each will be given. For more marks, the answer needs to be developed and explain why it is a reason for the business remaining small. If the answer is not applied to this business of selling and repairing motorbikes, then only 2 marks for each reason can be awarded. That means that a maximum of 4 out of 8 marks can be gained for an A question if the answer is not applied to the business in the context in the insert. Candidates should make sure that they also explain answers in the B parts of questions and not just state or list them. For example, paper 21, question 1B. CC needs to communicate a new health and safety regulation to its factory workers. Consider the advantages and disadvantages of each of the following 3 ways CC could use. Recommend the most effective way to use and justify your answer. The answer for each of the ways to communicate the message should have balanced explanation, making it clear what the advantages and disadvantages of each way are. These advantages and disadvantages should have a developed explanation as to why it is an advantage or a disadvantage. It will be seen by a lot of the workforce. But if the answer then, it will be seen by a lot of the workforce. If that's listed, but the answer says it will be seen by many factory employees passing the poster each day, then it will be noticed and read by most of these employees, then this makes a better answer. And then a recommendation should be made. If candidates just decided on text messages, for example, then this should be justified in order to gain level 3 marks. But to gain the highest of the level 3 marks, that's the higher marks for evaluation, the recommendation needs to justify why the alternative options, for example posters and the website, are less suitable and therefore were rejected. This is a skill candidates find particularly difficult. Therefore, it is something that candidates should spend more time practicing to try and ensure they do achieve the higher marks. It was quite rare for candidates to gain full marks on B questions, and this was true across all 3 variants. The next comments cover slides 42 and 43, and this is advice to candidates sitting paper 2. To summarise and give advice to candidates on how to be successful on paper 2, the advice is as follows. And many of these comments are similar to paper 1, but some are different. Firstly, follow the command words in the question. You need to make sure that you do actually answer the question asked, not just give information or knowledge that you know. Read the insert carefully and identify the type of business that is under discussion in the question. Candidates should make sure that they are familiar with this business, and they're not expected to have detailed knowledge of the particular business, but they are expected to use the information that they've been given in the insert. Candidates should think about the type of business it is, the type of problems it might have, how many employees it has, whether the employees are well motivated, what are the objectives of the business, in the long term, for example. Candidates should make sure that they read the information in the insert thoroughly, and to keep doing this as they go through the question paper, and to refer back to the insert before they answer the questions. They need to just keep making sure they are applying their answers to the business that they've been given. Candidates should make sure that they are clear about what they're supposed to be writing about in their response. They need to make sure that their answers are of the correct focus. So if the answer is asked for a benefit to a business, then they should make sure that they write about the business and not say a benefit to shareholders or workers. They need to make sure that they're clear about which is the focus and which stakeholder is being asked about. Usually in many of the questions it will be the business, but occasionally it will be other stakeholders. Sometimes the government, sometimes employees, sometimes shareholders. So they need to make sure they are answering in the correct focus of answering for the correct stakeholder. If there are any calculation questions, again, make sure that working is shown. If a mistake is made, then the method can be credited. So if a correct method is shown but there's an error in the calculation, then again, similar to paper 1, the answer may be wrong, but there may be credit available for the working. So it's advisable for candidates to always show the workings when they've made calculations. Candidates should try and give full explanation of advantages and disadvantages of alternative options in the B questions. The idea of the B questions is that different options are considered in some detail before a decision is made. If candidates just list the points without explanation, it will limit their marks quite severely. They do not get higher credit for the number of points listed, but candidates will benefit from making fewer points but developing and explaining these points in detail. And when it comes to the